Okay, so how many questions? I heard someone ask how many questions are there in the practice questions class? There are only around, is it 31, 32? 32. Okay, and if you look at the study guide class, for under this topic for liabilities, the point of focus class would only be two. First one, the first bullet there is to be able to identify the classification issues of short-term debt expected to be refinanced. Okay, so when will a currently maturing liability be classified as current or non-current if there is a refinancing arrangement? And the second point of focus for liability questions class would be on the accounting treatment for warranties. And here you're expected to know that there are two commonly used approaches class, and these are your assurance warranty approach and the service warranty approach. If you go back to your intermediate accounting classes class, you had several chapters on different kinds of liabilities class. But for general liabilities, these would be the only 2 points of two areas of focus class. The financing arrangements and warranties. That's it. Okay. So as I what I told the other class for Lisa's class, I know you had a lot of unresolved trauma in your lease accounting, in your intermediate accounting. Maybe the same is true also for your liabilities. Okay, but again, move on from your trauma class. The CMA exam is not trying to hurt you, class. The topics are, the questions are going to be a lot simpler, class. Okay, so be open to the idea that you will find these topics easy, class. Because it happens because of your past trauma. You will be close-minded already. No, I cannot do this kind of questions. I cannot answer these kind of questions. I'm not good at this. Sometimes it starts very early, class, even in grade school. Nobody told you you're good in math, so you ended up growing up not being good in math. Okay, you've always told yourself, I'm not good in math. So here, please be open to the idea that these topics can be easy for you as you take the CMA examination. Okay? So again, those would be the areas of focus class. Now for the first area class would be the classification of your liabilities. Again, in your intermediate accounting, there are different kinds of problems, different kinds of scenarios, wherein the question would be compute for total current liabilities, compute for total non-current liabilities. But here, our focus is just what will happen to this liability if this is going to be refinanced. Have you encountered these kind of questions? Yes, but normally that would just be one out of many possible questions for liabilities. But here, this would be one of the two areas of focus for general liabilities. And the rule will be very simple. But before we go there, it's important for us to have a definition for what constitutes as current liabilities. Okay, this could be asked as an essay question. What is a or when is a current or what is a current liability? Okay, as stated in your study guide, it is a liability that will be settled. Number one, will be settled with current assets or efforts of the company within a year or the operating cycle, whichever is longer. Okay, so the whichever is longer here, class will become relevant as we try to answer the practice questions later on. Again, even with just that sentence, that would be an acceptable definition already of your current liability. A current liability is a liability that will be settled with current assets or efforts of the company within a year of the operating cycle, whichever is longer. Okay, and for that, you also have to know what an operating cycle means, but I thought that would be asked as an essay question. But for the purposes of increasing your knowledge class, no, not increasing. You're supposed to know operating cycle already. Reinforcing your knowledge class. An operating cycle is the time it takes for an organization to go from a cash investment in inventory to sale of that inventory to collection of cash for that sale. And then what are your non-current liabilities? If you can recall our standards class, everything that is not current will be classified as non-current. Alternative definition which you can give in case this would be asked is a liability that has a due date beyond 1 year or the operating cycle, whichever is longer. So how can this be realistically asked as an essay question class? Distinguish current liabilities from non-current liabilities. And to do that, you will have to give the definition of both current and non-current. Okay, and then going to the second area of focus class which would be your warranties. Here, you have two approaches class, the assurance warranty approach and the service warranty approach. Based on how these are going to be done, class, we can give them different names, but I suggest you remember these two names, class, as this would be a good indicator on the part of the checker, class, that you know what you're talking about. So if you will be asked what methods will be used to account for warranties, please remember assurance warranty approach and the service warranty approach. Under the assurance, when will you use the assurance warranty approach, class? If there is no added cost for availment of a warranty. Okay, but the reality here is the cost of the warranty is already embedded in your selling price. But accounting-wise, what will be the difference? Of course, you will not receive cash for the warranty. Okay, so what will you do? Every year, you will have to make an estimate or to create an allowance for your warranty liability. Okay, so you will make an adjustment every year to recognize the warranty expense and to recognize the warranty liability. Under the service warranty approach, this would be, you can compare this to your unearned income approach. In a service warranty approach, you will get payment. So the moment you receive the payment for the warranty, you will debit cash and then you will credit the warranty liability. And when will the warranty liability be settled? Every time you provide service in relation to the warranty. How about the service, the assurance warranty approach? You will make an adjustment recognizing the warranty expense and the warranty liability. When do you recognize this warranty liability under the assurance warranty approach? Through passage of time. Okay, so assurance warranty can be simpler, class, in a sense that the recognition or the derecognition of the warranty liability is through passage of time. If you have 300,000 warranty liability and that your liability is to provide warranty for 3 years, every year it will decrease by 100,000. Okay, it's that simple. But for service warranty approach, again, the decrease in your warranty liability would depend upon the amount of warranty services you will provide. Okay, but it's not a big problem because under service warranty approach, you will be getting additional revenues. So another difference would be under the assurance warranty approach, there will be no additional source of revenue, while under service warranty approach, there will be another source of revenue. Okay, no revenue under assurance warranty, you will recognize the revenue under service warranty approach. And the revenue here would be the payments that you will receive from those who will avail of the warranty. Now, as a possible essay question, okay, what are you going to do under the assurance warranty approach? What are you going to do under the service warranty approach? Or compare assurance warranty approach and service warranty approach. Okay, you can just pick out the relevant statements provided in the study guide. But as to the likelihood of that being actually asked in your finals class, I doubt it's going to be asked. Okay. So let's proceed to the practice questions. As for essay questions class, it's good for you to try to predict the question so that if ever that question really comes out, you have a prepared answer already. Okay, but it's not possible for you to predict all possible essay questions. Okay, so you might say, I'll make sure I'm 100% ready for all the essay questions. And for you to do that, you will have to be able to predict all possible essay questions, and that is not simply possible. You'll end up getting crazy first before you'll be able to you'll be able to say that you're 100% completely ready for the essay class. Okay, so it's good if you have a syllabus, then for this topic, you try to predict what will be possible essay question here and prepare an answer if that would be asked. But do not be too strict to yourself that you will try to predict all possible questions. That is not simply achievable. Okay, so just continually and gradually increase your stock knowledge here. Okay, first question. The company has a 6-year bond that matures on February 28, X2. Under which of the following circumstances would the company be able to classify the bond as a long-term liability on December 31, X1? Balance sheet date that is issued on February 26, X2. Okay, so this would fall under the first area of focus class. You have a 6-year bond, meaning the original term is for 6 years. Okay, and it will mature on February X2, and we are on the end of X1. We are December 31, year 1. Let's just call it year 1. Okay, so had there been no refinancing class, this liability would be classified as current. Why would we classify this as current? Because it will mature within, if we are now on December 31 and it will mature on February 28, it will mature within 2 months. And as what we've said, if it matures if it is expected to be settled within 1 year or the normal operating cycle, whichever is longer, then that would be classified as a current liability. Okay, so if there are no refinancing lang, this liability would be classified as current. Okay, nobody should be thinking that this liability is at this point a non-current liability. But for those who would say that this might be non-current, assuming no refinancing yet, okay, what would be your possible reason class? You would say the problem said it is a 6-year bond, but that is not correct because as of December 31, year 1, it is no longer 6 years away from its maturity. Okay, so in classifying it as current or non-current, you will not be looking at the original maturity. I hope that is settled with everyone. I hope if ever we will be confused with this topic, let it be on the application of your refinancing agreements. Nobody should think that this is still a non-current liability simply because the problem calls it as a 6-year bond. What is the 6-year bond? This description pertains to the original maturity of the liability. Your focus should be on, as of the reporting date, how far away is it from its maturity. So to do that analysis, what do you do? Check when is the reporting date. What is the reporting date that is relevant in this problem? December 31, X1. And how far away is it from its maturity? As of December 31, it is 2 months away. And in that case, it would be current. Okay, but the question here is, under which of the following circumstances would we classify it as long-term? Okay, the question is like this because, again, without any additional information, these liabilities should be classified as current. Again, class, I really hope nobody is thinking that this is already non-current simply because of the 6-year description. Okay, everyone should be on the same page that without any additional information, as of December 31 X1, this liability is already current since it is just 2 months away from its maturity. The original term is no longer relevant in its classification moving forward. Okay, let's go over the choices. It cannot, since the bond matures within 3 months of the balance sheet date. That could be correct. Okay, if there are no other more correct answers. Let's go to the second choice. The company signs an agreement with the lenders on December 30 X1 to move the maturity date to October 31 X2. Okay, so they were able to finalize the refinancing class. Okay, so is this the answer? The answer is No, because it was indeed refinanced. So this is what we are trying to avoid. You might think the moment there is a refinancing agreement, automatically it will become long-term, but that is not correct. Was there a refinancing in the second choice? Yes. But what kind of refinancing class? It was refinanced to be paid still within 1 year. So even though there's a benefit of having to pay it on October instead of February, still it is payable within 1 year from the reporting date. So what do I want to emphasize here? Please be careful. Do not immediately conclude that just because there is a refinancing agreement, automatically the liability will now be classified as a long-term liability. The refinancing has to be for a long-term period. The refinancing should result in a maturity being more than 1 year from the reporting date. Here again, in the second choice, there is a refinancing, but the refinancing is still just within, the refinance maturity is still within 12 months from the reporting date. So that would not be the answer. Third choice, the company signs an agreement with the lenders on January 15, X2 to move the maturity date to February 28, X4. X4 is definitely more than 1 year from the reporting date, correct? Okay, so they were able to finalize an agreement, and the agreement was for a long-term period. But the next question you'll have to ask is, when was it finalized, class? Okay, supposedly, as what we've learned in our IFRS class, it should be the balance sheet date lang. In IFRS, if the agreement is made beyond the reporting date, then that will no longer result in a reclassification into a long-term liability. But under US GAAP class, as long as it is finalized before the financial statements were approved or issued class, it would still result in an adjustment to your classification class. Okay? So again, I would like to say as what you've learned in your 1101 class, okay, let's just skip that class. As what you may have learned somewhere else class, if the refinancing is done after the reporting date, it will not result in the reclassification of the refinanced liability. Okay, will it result in a disclosure? Yes, but will the classification of the liability be changed into long term from current? The answer is no. Okay, that's what we've learned, right? Right? Yes. Okay, but here for your semi-examination class, there will be an adjustment or reclassification on the balance sheet class, even if the refinancing happens after the balance sheet date, so long as it is before the issuance or approval of the financial statements. And with that, the answer for the first question would be the third choice. And letter D, the fourth choice class is actually what I was trying to emphasize at the very first. Okay, nobody should be answering. Is it possible for me to check your answers in the canvas? If anyone answered the fourth choice in this question. The bond is automatically classified as a long-term liability since it was a 6-year bond. Nobody should have answered this, should have chosen this choice. That's completely unforgivable. Okay. This is what I was trying to emphasize at the very start. Okay, so the answer again is the third choice. Next question. The company sells a product for 4,500. This will now be on the second area of focus class on warranties. Customers have the option of purchasing a 3-year warranty at the time of purchase for 240. The company sold 2,000 units and 1,600 warranties in its first year of operations, and 2,400 units and 1,800 warranties in its second year of operations. The company spent 80,000 on services covered under warranties in its first year of operations and 240,000 in its second year of operations. What amount of warranty revenue should the company recognize in year 2, assuming it recognizes warranty revenue on a straight line basis? Okay. So here, what method do you think should be used here? Is it the service warranty approach or the assurance warranty approach? Again, if there's payment for the warranty, what method are we going to use? Service warranty approach. And what do you do under the service warranty approach? If you get the payment, you record the cash, and then you credit the warranty liability. And how are you going to be reducing your warranty liability? You will reduce the warranty liability for every service of warranty that you'll be able to give, which would be represented by the cost on the part of the company. So the question here is, what amount of warranty expense? What amount of warranty revenue should the company recognize? And it says here it will be recognized on a straight line basis. Okay. So first focus on year one class. How much is your receipts? How much have you sold for warranties lang? Ignore the main product. For warranties, how much have you collected? Year one, out of the 2,400 customers, 1,800 availed of warranty, and how much did you sell each warranty class? You sold it for 240. So 1,800 times, no, am I saying the wrong numbers? It's 1.6. 2,000 in year one and 1.6 for warranties. So 1,600 times 240, how much would that be? 384,000. When did you receive the 384,000 class? On year one. But are you going to recognize the entire 384,000 as revenue on year one? The answer is no. Under the service warranty approach, what are you going to do? It is going to be spread out throughout the warranty period. And what's the length of the warranty period class? 3 years. So what are you supposed to do? Spread out the 384 over year 1, 2, and 3. Okay, and since we're using straight line, just divide it by 3 class. 384 divided by 3, that's 128, 128,000. So from your year 1 transaction, 128,000 warranty revenue will be recognized on year 1, 128,000 will be recognized on year 2, 128,000 warranty revenue will be recognized on year 3. The question now is, why is 128,000 not among the choices? Because the question is as of year 2. The 128,000 we mentioned is your revenue from what transaction class? Year 1 transaction. But what is being asked? You're asked for year 2 transaction, year 2 amount. And on year 2 class, you will now have multiple sources of warranty revenue. And what are these sources of warranty revenue? The transactions from year 1 and the transactions from year 2. Okay? So again, from the year 1 transaction, are you going to have warranty revenue in year 1? Yes. On year 2, are you going to have warranty revenue on year 2 from your year 1 transaction? Yes. Okay? But aside from your year 1 transaction class, what other revenue will you have on year 2? You'll also have warranty revenue from your year 2 transaction. But for year 1, will you have warranty revenue from year 2 transaction in year 1? No, because it did not happen yet. Okay? How about for year 2? Are you going to have warranty revenue from your year 3 transaction in year 2? No, because it did not happen yet. So what will be your source of what transactions will give you revenue in year 2? The transactions in year 2 and the transactions in year 1. Okay? What if we are in year 4 class? What if we are in year 4? What would be the sources of your revenue? Of course, included would be your year 4 transactions, correct? How about your year 3 transactions? Will you have an income from your year 3 transactions in year 4? Yes. How about for year 2? Will you have revenue on year 4 from your year 2 transactions? Yes. How about from your year 1? Not anymore because the warranty is only for 3 years. So in year 4, your sources of revenue will be year 4 transaction, year 3 transaction, and year 2 transaction. But going back to year 2, okay, in the same exam, you will not be asked with that kind of scenario class. Year 2 review daman si, I really cannot guess, but I really cannot say, but I'm guessing the hardest that it will give you class will be year 2. It will not even try to challenge you with a year 3 question. So let's go back to year 2. What would be the sources? What transactions will give revenue on year 2? The transactions in year 1 and year 2. From your year 1 transaction, we already know that on year 2, we will have a revenue of how much was it? 128,000. So the only other thing we lack is the amount of revenue that we will recognize in year 2 from our year 2 transactions. And what is the transaction in year 2 class? Focus on the warranties lang. How many warranties have you sold? 1,800. And this is at a price of 240. So 18 times 240, 400, 34, 432, 432,000. When did you receive this 432,000? On year 2. But are you going to recognize the entire 432,000 as revenue in year 2? No, again, under the service warranty approach, this will be spread out throughout the warranty period. And how are we going to spread it out? By using the straight line method. So what do we do? Divide 432 by 3. And that would be 144,000. So 144,000 plus 128 will give you how much? 272,000. That is already your answer. And if you proceed to the fourth question, class, can we skip to the fourth question? Is it exactly the same? I think so. But the question is different. You are now asked how much is your deferred warranty revenue or how much is your warranty liability. Plus, again, at this point, it's very important that you already know what kind of account is a deferred revenue account. A deferred warranty revenue is just a deferred income. Deferred income is just the same as your unearned income. Income that is already received but not yet earned. But again, what is its classification? It is a liability. So you're basically being asked how much is your warranty liability. Okay? So you start. What is your entry every time you receive payments? Debit, cash, and credit. Warranty liability. How much have you received in year 1? Itong 128 times 3, 384. Was it 384,000? Okay, you received 384,000 in year 1. What would have been your entry? Debit, cash, and credit, liability. Okay, what liability account are we going to use? Let's use this deferred warranty revenue. Again, it's just your warranty liability. Okay. And what else? What else would increase your liability on year 2? The revenue, the amounts you have received on year 2. How much have you received on year 2? How much was it, class? 432. So 432 plus, was it 384? Okay, so that's the total warranties you have received, which you will have to honor, which you will have to satisfy later on. But how much have you earned? How much have you earned in year 1? It was 128. How much have you earned in year 2? 272. Combine na year 1 and year 2. Okay? So, plus year 1, you started with 300. 300. Just imagine, class. 384,000. Okay, and what would have reduced that amount in year 1? The amount of revenue earned in year 1. How much have you earned in year 1? 128. So you started year 1 with 384, you deduct 128, you should get 256. 256. And then additional liability on year 2. How much? 256 plus, was it 432? 256 plus 432 is 688. 688. But how much have you earned in year 2? Total amount you've earned in year 2 from both year 1 and year 2 transactions. 272. So deduct the 272 from the total unearned of 688. How much will that give you? 416. And that is the fourth choice. And that would be the answer, class. Let's proceed to the third question. Let's go back. What if you were asked, same problem, Lasa, what if you were asked, how much is the unearned revenue or how much is the deferred warranty revenue at the end of year one? At the end of year one, your answer would have been, how much was it? 256. Okay, so again, let's try to go over. You're asked, how much is your warranty revenue on year one? Your answer would be, year one, warranty revenue, 120, was it 28? 128,000. Another possible question, how much is the balance of the deferred warranty revenue at the end of year one? Answer would be 256. Third question, which is the question in number 2, how much is the warranty revenue on year 2? That was 272,000. Fourth possible question, how much is the balance of the deferred warranty revenue at the end of the second year? Our answer is 416,000. Okay. Now go back to the third question. Basically, a similar problem, but we'll be using the other approach. What amount of warranty expense should the company record in year 2? Okay, the company includes a 4-year warranty with each unit of the product itself. Because when it says it includes, class, meaning you will not be receiving additional payment for the warranty. Okay, but if this is the case, normally your selling price will just be higher. The company estimates that each unit will require an average of 80 of warranty services over the 4-year warranty period. The company sold 2,000 units in its first year of operations and 2,500 in its second year of operations. The company spent 60,000 on services covered under warranties in its first year of operations and 190,000 in its second year of operations. What amount of warranty expense should the company record in year 2? How many units, class, in year 2? Because we're looking for expenses, class, how many units did you sell in year 2? 2,500. And how much is the estimated cost of providing warranties to these units, class? 80. When you multiply 25 and 80, how much would you get, class? How much? 200,000. And that is already the answer, class. And that is how the assurance warranty approach is different, class, as far as expenses are concerned. Okay, under the assurance warranty approach, class, it would be, the expenses would be estimated, class. But under your service warranty approach, you will record the expense only when there are actual warranty expenses already. Okay, here, following matching principle, class, if the sale happens in this year, the related estimated warranty expense will also be recorded in that year. Okay, so since we are asked for year 2, just focus on year 2 sales, class. How much was the sales in year 2? 2,500. How much is the estimated cost of providing warranties to these units? 80. So the total expense on these 2,500 units, class, would be 200,000. The question now before you is, you have estimated that you will incur 200,000 to provide warranties to these 2,500 units. When are you going to recognize this 200,000? In the year of sale, or are you going to spread it out over the warranty period? The answer is in the year of sale. Following the matching principle under the assurance warranty approach, you recognize the related estimated warranty expense together in the year you will recognize the sale. Okay, you will ask in the service warranty approach, are we violating matching principle? The answer is no. Because how do you recognize the revenue under the service warranty approach, class? The revenue is also spread out throughout the warranty period. That is why you will also recognize only the expense when it actually occurs. But here, there is no additional revenue for your warranties, class. Okay, so the warranty expense is connected to your sales. So following matching principle, the warranty expense will be, the entirety of the warranty expense would be recorded in the same period you recognize the entirety of the sales. Okay, so that's why the answer here is simply 200,000. Again, difference kasi the expense under the warranty, the assurance warranty approach is estimated class. You will already recognize the expense even before actually incurring the warranty cost. Under the revenue warranty approach, the expenses are recognized for your actual warranty costs. Okay. My explanation might have made you confused, class, but the problems are really easy. Class. Just let it simmer. Class. Let's proceed to the fifth question. Here, again, this is a question in the first area of focus class, so the classification of your liabilities if they are to be refinanced. Question here is, which loan or loans will be classified as long-term liability on December 31, 20X5? So the reporting period which you should be focusing on is December 31, 20X5. If it is within 1 year from December 31, 20X5, current. If it's beyond 1 year from December 31, 20X5, non-current. Okay, so let's look at loan number 1 first. Loan number 1, the start date is 6/14/20X1. I think we can just ignore that. Focus on the original maturity. The original maturity is 6/13/20X6, which is just around 6 months from December 31, X5. Do you follow, class? Okay, so with that information alone, this loan should be classified as current. Okay, but here there are refinancing details given. Agreement to refinance for 6 years, signed February 1, 20X. Was there a refinancing? Yes. Is the refinancing for a long-term period? Yes, because it is now refinanced for 6 years. But when was it signed, class? When was it signed? February 1. And is the February 1 before or after the financial statements were issued? Before. And since it is before, will it result in the reclassification of the liability class? Yes. So that means loan number 1 would be long-term. Okay, I hope everyone gets it, class. Next, loan number 2. Okay, let's just skip over the start date, class. Maturity date. When is the maturity date? March 12, 20X6, which is obviously less than 1 year from December 31, 20X5. Okay, with that information alone, these should be classified as current. Next, agreement to refinance for 1 year. Okay, it was to be refinanced for 1 year from the March 12, 20X6, which would make it more than 12 months from the reporting date. But the question is, when was it refinanced, class? March 1, 20X6, which is before or after the date of issuance, class? When was the date of issuance? When were the financial statements issued, class? February 25. When was it? When was the refinancing agreement signed? March 1. Was it before or after then? After. And if it's after, will it result in the reclassification of the liability for the December 31, 20X5 financial statement? No. So, as far as the December 31, 20X5 balance sheet is concerned, it will remain as a current liability. Okay. So with that, can we figure out our answer? It's going to be either the first or the fourth choice. Okay, let's go over loan number 3. Maturity date is 5/10/20X6, which is again less than 1 year from December 31, 20X5. The agreement to refinance for 4 years signed December 1, 20X5. Was it refinanced? Yes. Was the refinancing for a long term? Yes. When was it refinanced? December 1. So obviously, this would already be classified as a long-term liability. So the answer here would be the first choice. Next question. Under which set of facts would the company be able to classify a liability due within the next 12 months as a long-term liability under US GAAP? First choice. On December 31, 2026, a company has a liability due on 2/15. Because we're looking for the one that will become long-term. Yes? Due within the next 12. Which one will be classified as a long-term? So we're looking for the one that should be classified as long-term. On November 30, 2026, the company's board of directors voted to seek to refinance the debt with the lender. It plans to talk to the lender at the beginning of 2027 about refinancing the debt for 3 more years. So there's a plan to refinance it for a long-term period. The company issued its financial statements on February 15, 20x7, and there is nothing here that would indicate that it was already finalized. So as of December 31, 20x6, was it a current liability? Yes, but was it was it successfully refinanced? No, so this would remain as a current liability. Second choice. Never. US GAAP requires all liabilities to be satisfied within the next 12 months or one of it to be classified as current liabilities. That is incorrect. Third choice. On December 31, 20x6, a company has a liability due on, what is 8 plus? Is that August? August 15, 20x7. On November 30, 20x6, the company's board of directors voted to seek to refinance the debt with the lender. On December 20, 20x6, the lender agreed to refinance the debt with a new due date of December 20, 20x7. The company issued its financial statements on February 15. Okay, so it was a current liability class. It was refinanced, but was it refinanced for a long-term period class? No, it was refinanced only still within the year. Okay, still within 20x7. So even though it was successfully refinanced, it was even refinanced early class. It was refinanced on December 20. But since the refinancing was for a shorter period only, it will remain to be a current liability. And since we have eliminated the first, second, and third choice, that means the answer must be the fourth choice. Do we have to check? I guess we do. On December 31, 20x6, a company has a liability due on June 15. On November 30, the company's board of directors voted to seek to refinance the debt to the lender. On February 1, the lender agreed to refinance. So, and was it refinanced? Yes. Was the refinancing period for a long term? Yes, because the due date now is on 20x9, about 3 years from the reporting period. Now, the question is, when was the refinancing finalized? February 1. Was it finalized before the financial statements were issued? Yes, because it was issued on February 15. So the answer is the fourth choice. Next question. The company sells the product for 5,000. Customers have the option of purchasing a 4-year warranty at the time of purchase for 180, plus additional payment, so you will be using the service warranty approach. PKZ sold 3,000 units and 2,500 warranties in its first year of operations. 3.6 and 3.3 in year 2, spent 150,000 services covered in the warranties in its first year of operations. 320 in its second year of operations. What amount of warranty revenue should the company recognize in year 2? Because warranty revenue, what are we going to do here? This is simply straight line, correct? Okay. Basically the same as the previous problem. Okay. How much revenue? Let's focus on year 1. How many units were sold? Units of warranties were sold, class? 2.5. And how much was the price for each? It is 180. How much is 2.5 times 180? Is it 450,000? 450,000. I'm stopping class kay I'm amazed by myself na I sold for 450 and you will not realize I just simply multiply 180 and 25. I think it's not easy, class. Pero sa'yo lang okay. You just multiply 25 by 80%. You get 2,000, then you add another 2,000. I'm blowing my own marks. Anyway, so total revenue from year one would be, imagine if it's not really 450, but is it really 450? 450,000. I do not want to do the year two. Okay, maybe it might take time. Year two is how much? Let's just focus again on year one. Year one total revenue would be 450, but as what we've discussed, we will not recognize this all in year one, correct? We'll spread this out over the warranty period, which is 4 years. So you divide 450 by 4, that would be how much? 112,500. I'm just trying to entertain myself. 112,500. And then that's it. Every year, year one, year two, year three, year four, you will have warranty revenue of 112,500 from your year one transaction. But the question here is for year two. So for year two, will we have revenues in year two from our year one transaction? Yes. How much? 112,500. But why is that not the answer? Because aside from the year one transactions, we also have revenues from our year two transactions on year two. So let's transfer our focus on year two. How many units were sold? 33. Cannot multiply by 80%. 33 times 180, how much? 594. 594,000 divided by 4. 148,500. So every year, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5, you will have how much? 148,500. Okay, 148,500 plus 112,500 will give you 261,000. Next, again, the questions will just be like this, hopefully. Assuming the company's operating cycle is 120 days, how should AESW classify these loans on its balance sheet dated December 31, 2020? Okay, let's start. The company has a 5-year loan for 60,000 due on June 30, 20X1. A 4-year, how many loans are we dealing with here? A 4-year loan for 80,000 due on March 31, 20X1. And a 2-year loan for 40,000 due on December 15. So we're dealing with 3 loans. On February 1, AESW assigned an agreement to refinance the 60,000 loan for another 4 months past the due date. When AESW released its financial statements on February 28, 20X1, it was working on an agreement to refinance the 80,000 for another 4 years. AESW signed an agreement on February 5, 20X1 to refinance the 40,000 loan for another 2 years. Okay, let's start with the 60,000. The 60,000 is due originally on June 30, 20X1. And then what happened? On February 1, it was refinanced for another 4 months. The original is June, refinanced for 4 months. So that will just be July, August, September, October, which is still within 1 year. So does it matter, class, that the operating cycle is 120 days only? No, because it is the operating cycle or 1 year, whichever is longer. So the 60,000 loan was refinanced. But it was not refinanced for a long-term period. So the 60,000 will remain as a current liability. Next, the 80,000. The 80,000 is due on March 31 the following year. And what happened to this one? When it released its financial statements, it was still working on an agreement to refinance. So there is an ongoing negotiation to refinance it for a long-term class. But at the time that the financial statements were issued, it was not yet finalized. So what will happen to this 80,000 loan? Will it be reclassified as a long-term liability? No, it will remain as a current liability. So next, the 40,000. The 40,000 is due December 15, and then what happened? An agreement was signed on February 5 to refinance for another 2 years. So was it refinanced? Yes. Was it refinanced to a long-term period? Yes. Now the question is, when was it refinanced? Was it before it was issued? When was the financial statements issued, class? February 28. And when was the refinancing agreement finalized for the 40,000 loan? February 5. So was it finalized on time? Yes. Okay, it was finalized before the issuance. So will the refinancing affect the classification? Yes. So instead of current, it will now be a long-term liability. So the 40,000 is long-term, the 60 and the 80 is current. Which of the choices reflect that classification? The 40 is long-term, that's either A, B, or D. And then the 60 is current, it's just the second choice. Okay? The 60 and the 80 are current liability. So the answer here is the second choice. Next, can we skip this one? This, what's this? 2, 12, 5, 10, 6, 14. The answer here is loans 2 and 3. Okay, let's proceed to the next question. The question here is, assuming company's operating cycle is less than 12 months and it issues its financial statements on March 15, 20X9, how much would it classify as current liabilities on its December 31, 20X8 balance sheet? Okay, the reporting period is 20X8. First, the notes payable. What are we looking for, the current or the non-current? We're looking for the current. Okay, first, the notes payable is 100,000. 20,000 is due on December 15, 20X9. So the 20,000 out of the 100,000 is due within 1 year. So out of the 100, the 20 would be current. Okay, do we have 20,000 in the choices? Yes. So let's go over the others. Bonds payable of 200,000. The bonds mature on 5/1/20X9, meaning less than 1 year from the reporting date. But what else happened? The board of directors voted on December 30 to approach the lender in January about refinancing for additional 5 years. No agreement has been reached, so meaning it will remain as a current liability. So the 200 should be included. Do we have 220 in the choices? Yes. Next, the board of directors, bonds payable of 100. The board of directors voted on November 30 to approach the lender about refinancing for an additional years. An agreement to refinance for 10 years was reached on February 1. Was it refinanced? Yes. Was it refinanced for a long-term period? Yes. But was it refinanced prior to the date of issuance? When was the date of issuance? March 15, and it was refinanced on February 1. So that means it was refinanced before the financial statements were issued. So will it result in the reclassification of this liability? Yes. So will this be reported as current? No more. So our answer then here would be 220,000. Next, which statement concerning accounting for warranties is correct? The answer here is letter, the first choice. The assurance warranty approach is used to account for warranties that are automatically included in the purchase of a product, and the service warranty approach is used to account for extended warranties that are sold separately from the product for additional revenue. Because if you'll be asked to distinguish the two, class, this sentence could be enough, class. Okay? The answer in this question is the first choice. Next question. FHR company has a 4-year bond that matures on March 28, X3. Under which of the following circumstances would FHR be able to classify the bond as a long-term liability on its December 31, X2 balance sheet? Okay, supposedly it's current, but we're being asked under what condition will it be reclassified as a long-term liability? First choice. FHR signs an agreement with the lenders on March 5x3, to move the maturity date to March 28x6. The new maturity date would be long term, but the agreement was finalized when? March 5, which is already after the date of issuance. So in the next year, this would be a long-term liability, but as of December 31 X2, this would still be current liability. So the answer is not the first choice. Next, FHR signed an agreement with the lenders on December 30 X2 to move the maturity date to 8/30 X3. Was it refinanced? Yes. And it was even refinanced with, before the financial statements were issued. But the problem is the refinance term is still short term. It is still within 1 year from December 31 X2. So even with this refinancing, it will remain as a current liability. Next, the bond is automatically classified as a long-term liability since it was 4-year bond. Again, 4 years ago, it might have been classified as long-term liability, but since the maturity is now just months away, it will now be reclassified as a current. That means the answer is the fourth choice. None of the situations above would allow the company to classify the bonds as long-term. What amount of, next question, HJK company, what amount of deferred warranty revenue should the company report at the end of year 2? The company sells a product of 2.5 because the product doesn't have a manufacturer's warranty. The company offers a separate warranty for purchase. Cost, what's the question? Deferred warranty revenue. Customers have the option of purchasing a 3-year warranty at the time of sale for 180, and HJK expects all that related warranty expenditures will be incurred evenly over the 3-year period. All sales of this product are made near the beginning of the fiscal year. The company sold 1,000 units and 900 warranties in its first year of operations and 1,512 in the second year of operations. HJK spent 24,000 on services covered under warranties in its first year of operations and 89 in its second year of operations. Okay, first, compute for your warranty liability. How much did you receive for year 1? Selling price is 180, and then the number of warranties sold is year 1, 900. 900 times 180 would give you 162,000. And then that will be your initial. And how much warranty services have you provided in year 1? How much did you spend for warranty services? 24,000. So 162 minus 24, how much will that give you? 138. What will be the question so that the answer is 138, class? What amount of deferred warranty revenue will be reported at the end of year 1? But again, what is being asked here? Year 2. So please put that number somewhere close. 138. Was it 138? 138,000. Proceed to year 2. How much warranties have you sold in year 2, which you will have to honor in the next few years? How many units is that? 1, 2. 1,200 times 180 will give you how much? 216? Is it 216? 216,000. Okay. And then you add that to your 138. 138 plus 216 is 354. Is it 354? 354,000. And then how much warranty services have you already satisfied during the second year? 89. So 354 minus 89 will give you how much? 200. Why is it not in the choices? Warranty revenue. No. We're not asked and earned. No. It should just have been straight line, class. Go back, erase everything, class. So go back to year 1. Receive cash, carry forward, receive cash, funding liability, and then warranty revenue. So go back to year 1. 180 times. 180 times. How much was it? 900. That gave us 162,000. And then divided by 3, every year there will be how much? 54. And then 54 every year. And then, so how much is unearned after year 1 class? It's 108 minus 162 minus 54 will give you 108. So if you'll be asked how much is the warranty revenue at the end of year 1, our answer will be 108. Okay. Because the 24,000 and 89,000 here will not have an effect on your liability. The entry to record these costs would be debit, expenses, warranty expenses, and credit, cash. This would not affect our warranty liability. The recognition here would be straight line. Okay. So we'll have 108. And then how much additional in year 2? Was it? How much is 12 times 180 class? 216. But this would be divided by 3 also. Okay, how much is 216 divided by 3? 72. So going back, 108 plus the 216. How much is 108 plus 216? That's 324. Then how much is earned during the year? How much is earned in year 2? Not just the 72 class, but also the 54 from the year 1 transaction. So 108 plus 216 minus 54 this year from the year 1 transaction, and another minus 72,000 this year for year 2 transaction. So 108 plus 216 minus 54 minus 72 will give you how much? 198,000. So the answer there would be the first option, 198,000. Next, the NTD company. Question here is, what amount of estimated warranty liability should the company record at the end of year 2? Okay. Is this year 2? NTD estimates that each unit will require an average of 45 of warranty services over the 3-year warranty period. NTD sold 1,000 units in its first year of operations and 1,800 in second year of operations. NTD, what's the estimate for each class? 45. How many units were sold in year 1? 1,000. 1,000 times 45, you will have 45,000. So you will set up the liability here by recognizing warranty expense and credit, warranty liability in the amount of 45,000. And then, what happened? What else happened in year 1? Services provided. How much services were provided in year 1 class? 12. Okay, so 45 minus 12, the balance of the warranty liability is 33,000. But why is the answer here not 33,000? The 33,000 is the estimated warranty liability and as of the end of year 1. What we are being asked is as of the end of year 2. So please take note of the 33. What else will happen in year 2? Recognize the estimated warranty expenses for the units sold in year 2. How many units were sold in year 2? 18 times 45, that will give you how much? 81,000? Is that 81,000? So 81 plus the 33 will give you 114,000. But you have already satisfied how much in year 2? 39. How much is 114 minus 39? 75. So the answer here would be 75,000. Next, EGQ. The question here is, under which of the following circumstances would EGQ be able to classify the bond as a long-term liability? I'll just give you the answer, guys. Make sure to analyze this. The answer is the fourth choice. EGQ signs an agreement with the lenders on January 10 to move the maturity date to February 28 henceforth. HJK. Is this the problem I've gotten wrong earlier? What amount of warranty revenue should? Is this the same question? The question earlier was deferred warranty class. Let's go. HJQ. The previous question was the balance of the deferred warranty. The question now is same problem, but the amount of warranty revenue that should be recognized. Do you still have the figures there, class? How much was it every year for the year 1 transaction? 900 times, how much was it? 180, this was? How much? 162. And then divided by 3, this was 54. Then aside from that one, from the year 2 transactions, 2 times 180, this was the 216. 216 divided by 3. How much is 216 divided by 3? 72 plus, how much is it? 54 will give you how much? 126. And that is already the answer. Next, which of the following statements concerning the service warranty approach to accounting for warranties is correct? The answer here, class, is the second choice. Under the service warranty approach, a liability for deferred revenue is recorded when a warranty is sold. The next, KLI company. How should it classify these loans? We've answered a similar problem, class, wherein you have multiple kinds of loans. The answer here would be the second choice. The 50,000 loan as a current liability, the 60,000 loan as a current liability, and the 75,000 loan as a long-term liability. Make sure to find time to understand why this is the answer. Basically, we've discussed this. Next, similar problem. Answer is loans 1 and 2, the fourth choice. Loans 1 and 2. Next, CSB. Let's try to answer CSB, class, since the question is what amount of deferred warranty revenue. And the last time we answered this question, we've gotten it wrong. I've gotten it wrong. Okay. Is this year 4? Are we going to do this? Did some of it expire already? Yes. Only the year 1. So meaning this would just be year 2, 3, and 4. I was wrong when I said you will not be asked for year 4. Okay, let's do this na lang, class. The price is how much? 160. How many? Because we will not include year 1 because we know it would have expired. It would have been fully recognized already by year 4, since we are just looking for those that are not yet earned. Okay. How much is year 1 units? No, again, it's for 8, but let's ignore year 1. Let's go to year 2, 5,000 times 160. Because we'll solve this differently. We'll just immediately compute how much of this amount will remain as of the end of year 4. Okay? So 5,000 times 160 is that 80,000 or 800,000? 800,000. And then divided by 4, that would be 200. But how many years will be left by the end of year 4? Only one more year. So by the end of year 4, only 200,000 would be unearned. Okay, so please put that down, 200,000. Next, year 2, this is, year 3 is 53. 53 times 160 is difficult. That's how much? 848 divided by 4 for 212. Now, by the end of year 4, how many years worth of 212,000 will not yet be earned? 2 years. So 212 times 2, that would be 424. Are you following? Okay, so by the end of year 4, your year 3 transactions that would still be unearned is 424. Please write that down. 424. How much was the year 2 plus? 200. 200 plus 424. Next. We're now in year 4. Okay. Year 4, 5,100 times 160. How much is this? 816. Divided by 4, this would be 204. By the end of year 4, how many years worth of 204 is not yet earned? 3 years. So 204 times 3, how much? 612. So 612 plus 424 plus 200, how much will that give you? Did we answer it correctly? Is it the choices? Yes, 1,236,000. Plus, there's a different way of solving it, class, but we're doing that. We're immediately just going to the amount that will still be unearned by year 4. You can individually solve year 1, then year 2, year 3, year 4, but that would just be too long, class. JKH Company. Answer in here is the first choice, the 30,000 loan as a current liability, the 40,000 loan as a current liability, and the 50,000 loan as a long-term liability. Next, a manufacturer produced 80,000 units and sold them for 1,200. The company estimates that 4% of the units will have a defect, which will cost an estimated 95 each to repair. During the year, the company honored 159,000 in actual assurance-type warranty costs. Using the assurance warranty approach, what would be the balance of the warranty liability account at the end of its first year of operations? Okay, here you will make use of an estimate. How many units have we sold? 80,000. And then, how many do we expect to be defective? 4%. So 4% times 80,000 would give you 3,200. So you expect 3,200 units to be defective, and you expect to incur a cost of 95 per unit. So 3,200 times 95, how much is that? 304,000. So that is your expected liability on this unit sold. Okay, and then since you have already honored how much? 159,000, your remaining liability from your year 1 sales will be how much? 304 minus 159. It would just be 145. Next. Because we will be using the assurance warranty approach. How many units were sold in year 2? Class here, just focus in year 2. Okay? We will be using matching principle. Year of sale would be the year in which the expenses would be recorded. Okay, how much units were sold in year 2? 1,200. And how much do we expect to incur for each unit being sold? 60. So 60 times 1,200 would give you 72,000. That is already your warranty expense. Next, which of the following statements concerning debt classification is correct? The answer here is the second choice, to allow a company to classify a debt as a long-term liability. a refinancing agreement does not need to be in place prior to the balance sheet date. Okay, this is very important to remember because this goes against what you have learned in your, hopefully in AC 1101. Next, which method of warranty accounting requires the organization to record deferred revenue? Deferred revenue, this would be your service warranty approach. Okay, the deferred revenue here would be for the amounts you have received as payment for the warranty. Next, DFR company. Okay, this would be assurance approach. Let's start with year one since we are asked for liability. Plus in the previous problem, where we multiplied, I think it was 1, 2 times 60. It's because the question there was an expense. Here we are asked for the estimated warranty liability. Okay, so year one, how many units were sold? 2,000. And how much do we expect to incur? 80. 2,000 times 80 would be 160. That would be our initial liability. And since we have honored how much in year one? 60,000. So by the end of year one, the remaining warranty liability would be 100. And is there 100 in the choices? Yes. But why is that not the answer? Because the question is not as of the end of year one. It is as of the end of year two. But we will need 100 to continue with year two. How much additional expenses are we going to recognize in year two? How many units were sold? 25 times 80, that would be 200,000. So you add the 200,000 from the previous balance of 100, you would have 300. But since we have already satisfied some of the warranty claims during the year amounting to 190, the remaining liability would simply be 300,000 minus 190, which will give you 110,000. The answer here would be 110,000. Next question, which of the following statements concerning warranty accounting is correct? Answer is the first choice. Both the service warranty approach and the assurance warranty approach involves liabilities related to warranties. Next, same question. Answer would be the fourth choice. Companies can choose between the service warranty approach and the assurance warranty approach for the same transaction. Okay, when do you use the assurance warranty class? If the warranty is embedded in the sales price. Use the service warranty approach if there's a separate price for the warranty. Next question. Answer here would be loans 2 and 3. Next question. All of the following statements concerning assurance warranty approach to accounting for warranties is correct, except the answer here is the third choice. Under the assurance warranty approach, a liability for deferred revenue is recorded when a product is sold with an attached warranty. This would be correct if this is under service warranty. Next, SGE company, class, all this one alam class. Answer would be 450,000. Last, LMK, answer would be 68,000. Okay, so